Hey everyone, do you remember learning Bible stories as a child? How those tales were probably simple, straightforward narratives that painted a clear picture of good and bad? Well, let me ask you something. What if there was more to those stories than met the eye? What if there were secret meanings, alternative perspectives, maybe even hidden messages that were waiting to be discovered? Today we're going on a journey to uncover them. We're going back to where it all began, the very first pages of the Bible, the book of Genesis, which means beginnings. And let's start with a bang, shall we? Let's talk about the apple, the forbidden fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Most Christians will tell you it was about temptation and disobedience. The moment when Adam and Eve chose to go against God's rules, thus bringing sin and death into the world. But what if I told you there's another way to look at it? Some theologians believe that the fruit wasn't just an apple. It could have been any fruit. It symbolized knowledge, wisdom, or even enlightenment. In this view, Eve didn't commit a sin by eating the fruit. She gained knowledge, becoming more aware of herself and her surroundings. Think of it like this. When you eat an apple, it's not inherently sinful. Only when you do it secretly or selfishly does it become problematic. Similarly, gaining knowledge is not a sin. It becomes one only when misused. Speaking of misuse, let's take a look at Eve's so-called sin. Was it really a sin, or was it a moment of awakening? Some people believe that Eve didn't fall for the serpent's trickery. Instead, she outsmarted him. She knew exactly what she was doing when she decided to eat the fruit. This might sound strange, but let's not forget that Eve was created as a wise and intelligent woman. Her actions weren't driven by foolishness. This idea is supported by the ancient Jewish tradition known as the alphabet of Ben Sira, which says she knew her nakedness was pleasing in his sight, and the desire that had come upon her was not sinful, nor would he have been displeased by her act had she not been frightened by the prohibition. So what does this mean? Some see this as an indication that Eve wasn't simply tempted and deceived. She made a conscious decision to defy God's command. And let's not forget the snake in the garden. Some say he wasn't the devil as we typically imagine him, but represented the spark of enlightenment within Eve. He symbolized the potential for human beings to gain knowledge and wisdom, even if it meant going against societal norms. Now let's talk about David and Goliath. For anyone who hasn't heard this classic tale, let me catch you up. Young David, a shepherd, takes on the giant Goliath and wins. At first glance, it's a story of bravery and faith. David, the underdog, defeats the seemingly invincible Goliath. It's all because he trusts in God. But what if there's more to the story than meets the eye? Some say David wasn't as innocent as he seems. In fact, according to some rabbinic traditions, he was no ordinary young man. He was a skilled warrior with a royal lineage, someone who saw Goliath not as a mere giant, but as a symbol of power and oppression. This perspective adds a layer of complexity to David's character. He wasn't just a simpleton who stumbled into a fight. He was a strategic thinker who understood the implications of defeating such a formidable opponent. And let's not overlook the symbolic meaning of the giant Goliath. Some believe he represented not just the Philistines, but also the internal struggles we all face, our fears, doubts, and insecurities. When David defeats Goliath, he conquers these inner giants, proving that with courage and determination, we can overcome any obstacle that life throws our way. But what about the stone that David used to defeat Goliath? Some say it wasn't just a random rock. It was a symbol of divine power. God chose David to defeat Goliath, and the stone represented God's presence and strength in David's life. Remember, David wasn't just a regular guy. He was a chosen vessel for God's power. So the next time you hear the story of David and Goliath, think about this. It's not just a tale of physical victory. It's a story of conquering internal battles and embracing one's destiny. Let's shift our attention now to the story of Noah and the Great Flood. As most of you already know, Noah built an ark, took his family and 2 of every kind of animal aboard, and they survived the devastating flood that wiped out all other life on earth. It's a story about obedience, faith, and second chances. But what if we looked at it through a different lens? What if the ark wasn't just a boat, but a metaphor for something more profound? Some ancient sources viewed the ark as a symbol of spiritual rebirth. It represented Noah's inner transformation and his capacity to carry life and hope amidst a sea of destruction. Think about it. The ark guided Noah and his family through the darkness and chaos of the flood, just as our beliefs and values can help us navigate through life's storms. And let's not forget about the animals. Some say they symbolize the diversity of human emotions and experiences. Just as Noah took both male and female animals onto the ark, he represented the full spectrum of life, including the potential for both good and evil. By carrying all of these creatures, Noah embarked on a journey to preserve and learn from all aspects of existence. However, some people believe that Noah's story goes beyond just a physical flood. It was also a spiritual cleansing. The rain and flooding represented a purging of the earth, a way to wash away the corruption and wickedness that had seeped into humanity. Through this cleansing, the world was given a fresh start. A new opportunity for people to live righteously, harmoniously with each other and with God. Now let's turn our attention to the enigmatic story of Isaac's binding. This narrative from Genesis has puzzled many. God instructs Abraham to sacrifice his only son, Isaac, as a burnt offering. Abraham obeys, but just as he's about to make the ultimate sacrifice, an angel stops him. It's a story that raises profound questions about faith, obedience, and the nature of sacrifice. But what if we explored a different perspective? Some ancient interpreters, including early Christian writers like St. John Chrysostom, believe that Isaac actually died only to be resurrected 3 days later. This might seem like a radical idea, but let's unpack it for a moment. If true, it would make Isaac one of the earliest figures in Christian history to experience resurrection, a concept central to the Christian faith. Furthermore, it adds a layer of depth and meaning to the story. Isaac's death and resurrection symbolize the ultimate sacrifice for humanity, a theme that would become a cornerstone of Christian theology. But wait, there's more. Some scholars suggest that the binding of Isaac wasn't merely a test of Abraham's faith. It was also a moment of intense psychological trauma. Imagine being willing to sacrifice everything you hold dear, only to have that moment abruptly halted. Such an experience could leave deep scars, shaping not only Abraham's faith, but also his relationship with his son and God. This interpretation offers a more nuanced understanding of Abraham's character. He wasn't just a man of unwavering faith. He was a complex individual capable of experiencing deep anguish and emotional turmoil. So there you have it, folks. These are just a few of the many unusual interpretations of well-known Bible stories. They challenge us to look beyond the surface, to question what we thought we knew, and to embrace the mystery and complexity of Scripture. I know these ideas might seem unconventional, even controversial, but isn't that the point? By exploring these diverse viewpoints, we enrich our understanding of the Bible and of ourselves. These stories aren't just ancient tales. They're part of the fabric of human experience. They reflect our deepest fears, hopes, and aspirations. So what do you think? Are you surprised by these interpretations? Do you find them thought-provoking, or maybe even challenging? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're interested in diving deeper into these fascinating discussions, make sure to check out our upcoming videos. Till then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep seeking the truth. After all, the journey of discovery is just as important as the destination. Thanks for joining me on this journey today. And always remember, keep an open mind and an open heart. See you next time.